Okay, this is tutorial number 4, and this will go over the modified toolbar, which is right next to the draw toolbar. The first button on top of the modified toolbar is the erase button. I never ever use this. I always just use delete. But this will give me a time to go over the green box versus the blue box. Remember, the green box, if I simply just touch it, like I'm barely touching that line, it will select it. The blue box, I'm touching the line, nothing happens. You have to fully cover something with the blue box and it'll just select it. So remember that. And if I select this and I hit the delete button, that's the same thing as hitting the erase button up here, but you have to hit erase and then hit enter, and it just takes too long. Also remember, Control Z is undo. Those are your friends. So this green box when you want to select multiple things, or the blue box when you want to select, like I can highlight all this stuff, but it's only going to select that window because I didn't fully cover that rectangle right there. So blue box versus green box can be very beneficial depending on what you're trying to do. Again, I use the delete button rather than use this, but you can use it if you want. There it is, copy. Copy's the next thing. Maybe I want to copy this circle multiple times. And you'll remember I can hit Control C and Control V, and then I can just hit spacebar, which is the enter key, over and over and over again, and that will copy those circles as well. But here's what this copy does. This is kind of nice. I click copy. I specify that I want to copy that circle. I hit enter. And this is the nicest thing about it, is it lets me choose where I want to copy it from. So I can copy it from the center, or I can copy it from the quadrant. And I'm going to copy it from the quadrant, and maybe I want to take it and I want to put it there, and I want to put it there, and I want to put it there, and I want to put one, over here. And I can do this as many times as I want, and I can hit enter when I'm done. So that's the nice thing, is it lets you copy multiple from a specific spot. And when I do Control C and Control V, I don't really have control of where the grip is. I can put it over here, but then I have to move it again. So using this copy tool can be really beneficial. So understand how to work with that. By the way, as I go through these fairly quickly, I would suggest that you pause and practice. So after I go over copy, I would pause the video and then practice the command. All right? Next, we have mirror. Some of you guys may remember the mirror command. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simply mirror this window and this door to the other side of this silly little house right here. So I'm going to highlight the mirror and the door, and it includes, highlighting the little door handle right there. I'm going to click on the mirror command. It says specify start point of the mirror line, and I should have a midpoint right here. And this is definitely a time where you want to have ortho on because you want to go straight down. And it doesn't really have to click to there. I can go past that and hit and click my mouse. And it says, do you want to delete the source entities in the command window? That means, do I want to delete what's over here? And very rarely do I. So I'm going to just hit enter. And there is the door and the window on the other side. Okay? So you can mirror things, both vertically and horizontally. If I click on mirror first, then I just have to select these and hit enter. And now I could mirror them. I could just draw a line across there and hit enter. Or I messed that one up somehow. I'm going to click on mirror, specify start point of the mirror line. It will be from there to there, and hit enter. And now I've mirrored that guy upside down. So go ahead and practice mirror with different things. It can save you a lot of time, especially if you're drawing something symmetrical. And you can mirror something either about the x-axis or about the y-axis. You can even do things diagonally, like I'll mirror both of these guys diagonally right now. Mirror, specify start point of mirror line. I'm going to have to turn ortho off. And I'll just draw some funky angled like that and hit enter. And now I've mirrored those guys at an angle right there, which I don't know why you'd want to do that, but it is possible should you ever want to do something like that. Okay, so that's mirror in a nutshell. Pause and practice. This guy right here, move. You guys have used move a bunch of times. I would take this, I'd move this guy. Maybe I want it to be snapped up here like that, or maybe I want to grab it by this grip right here, and I want that to be snapped to that corner. And I can take this, and maybe I want it to be snapped to this corner right there. So they are in the exact same spot, and that makes things kind of nice to do. Okay, maybe I want to take this door right here, and I want to move the door, and maybe I want to put a line on the bottom of this door, and I want to snap the midpoint of this door right here to the midpoint of that right there, so that door is centered. And then I could delete that line so I don't have any double lines. All right. So move is very helpful. Offset, big command right here. I'm going to show you a couple different things. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to offset this. Click offset. We'll do 1 enter, so I'm going to offset it an inch. I click on this, I bring my mouse this way, I click again, and it offsets those lines 1 inch apart. Okay. I could also click here and go that way, and all those lines are going to be 1 inch apart. I can do the same thing with a circle or a rectangle. If I have a circle and I click on offset, and I'll do 0.5 enter, and I could click on the circle and bring it in, and every one of those circles is a ½ an inch, either bigger or smaller depending on which way you're offset. And of course you can do the same thing with rectangles and so on. So a lot of times, here's what I want you to try and do. See if you can draw a 4-inch box drawing only one line. Okay, and here's what I mean. So let's see, I'll draw a line that's 4 inches, and that's going to be the only box, or the only line that I draw to make my 4-inch box. So I can use offset, and now I might take this line right here, and I might copy that line. So there it is, and then I might use the rotate tool, and I'm reading the command line, and then I can take the move tool, and then of course I can offset that line, and there we go. There's a 4-inch box right there, and I only drew one line, and I just used other commands in order to make that 4-inch box. Okay, so go ahead and pause and practice. With that one, I used move, I used copy, I used offset. So there's all sorts of different stuff that you can do there. Okay. Next we have pattern. This one will allow you to do linear patterns or circular patterns. You just need to know how many things to put in there. And I'll give you kind of an example of both. Let me get rid of some things here. So we'll do a linear pattern of this square right here, of this 4-inch box. So I'll go ahead and click on this. We'll do linear. It's on that. Select the entities. I got to click on this box right here. Highlight that. Hit enter. How many of them do I want? Maybe I want 6 going vertically, and maybe I want 8 going horizontally. And I want them, remember, they are currently 4 inches wide. So if I click on preview right now, they just got smaller, basically, because if I do this, okay, so if I hit on this and I go linear, select the entities, and if I do, what do we have, 6 and 8 on the horizontal axis, and if I only do 1, okay, what that did is it didn't make them large enough, and you'll see the distance from there is 1, because that's how far I told them to space it apart. If I wanted it to be a 1-inch space, then I needed to make the gap at least 5, because it has to go 4. From here to here would be 4, and then I need another 1-inch space, so I need the distance to be 5. So here we go. Linear, select the entities, hit enter, 6 and 8, and I'm going to make the distance 5 for each of these. And now I hit preview, and these should be 1 inch spaced apart. And if you're not sure about that, go ahead and use this. So this should still be 4 inches, which it is, and then the distance between here should be 1 inch, which it is. Okay? So you kind of have to take into account that this is already 4 inches, and that's why I had to make my spacing 5 inches. 4 inches for this one, and then 1 inch for the space. And then same here for there. 4 inches for that, and then 1 inch for the space. And then there's my rectangular pattern. So this will be beneficial, like putting chairs in a classroom or what have you. Okay? So that's that one. Now we're going to go over the circular pattern. I'm going to click on this guy, click on pattern, click on circular. And let's see, I want there to be, I know the fill angle and the total number of elements. So I want it to go 360 degrees, and I want there to be 12 of them. And I'm going to hit preview. So there's 12 total of them, and they're going 360 degrees. So it's just all about filling out that box right there. So if you have something that's going around in a circle, but the key is knowing what it is you're looking at. Do you know the angle between them and the total number of objects you want? Do you know the fill angle? Like, are you only going to go halfway around for 180 degrees, or are you going to go 360? And you know the angle between the elements? Or do you know the fill angle and the total number of elements, which that's the one I knew. I knew that I wanted to go 360 degrees, and I knew that I wanted 12 of them, so that's the one I had to choose. Okay? And by the way, if you want more practice on these, you can always go back to any of the lessons that Drafting 1 is using and refresh your memory because there are whole lessons devoted to these. This is rotate. I'm going to get rid of these guys. And I believe I've already showed you rotate, but just in case, here's a rectangle. Click on rotate. I'll click that. I'll specify this is my pivot point, and I might type in something like 45 degrees, and now it's at a 45-degree angle. Okay. This guy right here, scale things. This rectangle, I don't know exactly how big it is. Matter of fact, I'm going to draw one that's an exact size. I'm going to start it. D, enter. We'll do 3, enter, 2, enter. So there's a 3-inch by 2-inch rectangle. And I'll just show you to prove it to you. 3-inch by 2-inch, so you can see that. And now I'm going to scale this guy up. So I click on it, scale, specify the base point, 2, enter. And now it should be 6 inches by 4 inches. So 6 inches by 4 inches because I doubled it in size. Okay. If I want to scale it down, I could click on scale, specify this is the base point, and I could do 0.5. And 0.5 would make it back to its original size, or now it's 3 inches by 2 inches, and it's good to go. One other thing that I want to refresh your memory on, because this can help you a lot, is scale by reference. Highlight this rectangle, hit enter, specify the base point, be there, and now I have an option to type in R for reference. R, enter. And it says specify the reference length. Well, maybe I don't know exactly what scale I want to put in, but maybe I know I want this line right here to be 8 inches. So I click there to there, and it says, all right, you want to change the length of that line. What do you want that new length to be? I want that to be 8, enter, and it scales that. It keeps the same scale that it had, but it makes sure that this line right here is 8 inches. So this guy should be 8 inches, and let's see what it did to this one, because it kept the same scale, so that's 5.33. So it kept the same scale, but it made sure that this line right here was 8 inches, and that can be very beneficial, especially if you get yourself into trouble. Okay. Stretch command is the next one down. Here's stretch. I'm going to explode this first. By the way, explode. Remember, we've got a rectangle that's all one object. Click explode. Now it's 4 separate lines. Okay, so here's stretch right here. The key to stretch, remember, is this crossing window, green crossing window. Okay, specify entities. Hit enter. From point, I'll start right there, and now I can stretch it out maybe 3 more inches, and now I just made it 3 inches longer. So I stretched the rectangle. Okay, there are other ways to do that, but you can obviously use stretch. I don't use it that often, but it can be beneficial. Here's chamfer. We did this with using rectangle, but here it is on its own. If I know the distance, D, enter. Maybe I want 0.75 for both, 0.75, and I click here, and that has a chamfer of 0.75. Okay, maybe I know the angle, which if I know the angle, I have to know one distance as well. So the length of the first line, I'll do 1. The angle would be 30, let's say. I'm just making these up. So this one's going to come down 1, and that's going to be at an angle of 30 degrees. Okay, if you're not really sure what I'm talking about, I'll show you what I mean. By the way, TR, enter, enter is trim, if you don't remember that. This is 1 inch right there, because I said the distance was 1 inch. And then the angle was 30 degrees, so that angle right there is going to be 30. Here's angular. Double check that that's 30 degrees, and it is. So that's what angle means. You have to know one angle and one distance in order to get it correct. So there we have it. Fillet, very similar. Usually you got to hit R, enter for radius. I'll make it 1, enter, and I click here, and I'll click here. And that has a radius of 1 inch. If you're not sure, use the dimension toolbar and double check. Okay, what else do we have? Split, don't really use that. I don't use split, I use trim, I don't use weld. Here's extend. If I have a line, say going at an angle like this, and I hit EX, enter, enter, and click on that line, it's going to extend that line. If I click on it, it's going to extend that line. If I click on this, it's not going to extend it because there's nothing to extend it to. Now if I were to draw another line up here and then hit EX, enter, enter, it will extend that. And remember, the opposite of extend is trim, TR, enter, enter. I can trim that, and now that line is only inside of that funny looking rectangle. Okay? And then there's trim right there. Again, I just hit TR, enter, enter. After that, edit hatch. If you ever need to edit a hatch, you can use that one. Display order, don't really use that one. Edit polyline, we'll discuss that one later. And of course, explode, I've gone over that. So that is the modified toolbar. Again, feel free to pause, rewind, watch that video over and over until you are very familiar with these commands, because this is the bulk of what you learned in Drafting 1. Alright, so we'll see you again in the next tutorial.